Former Tory James Clarke is the deputy leader of the Renew Party, which is in favor of staying in the EU. Thank you for being with us. James Clarke, several questions. First of all, do you on a day like this regret having left the Conservatives? Would it be better to be having this fight from within, keeping the Conservative Party as a bigger tent than it's becoming?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Strictly speaking, I was never a member of the Conservatives. The Renew Party is formed from people formerly aligned with Conservatives, Labour and Liberal Democrats. But to answer your question, certainly the Conservatives have made terrible mistakes. They're shedding a lot of their best people. It's pretty clear now that the Conservative Party is not a home for the pragmatic, for the sensible, for the non-ideological. They've made a bed for themselves, and the leadership now, Captain Chaos and General Disarray, Johnson and Cummings, are looking very, very vulnerable.
You're saying they're in disarray. They seem to have a more forceful game plan than Johnson's predecessor.
I would disagree completely. I think they may have played their joker too early. What they've succeeded in this time is really galvanising the Remain side. And what you can see now is a Remain alliance being built by smaller parties like the Renew Party, with the Lib Dems, Greens, Plaid, SNP, and we're looking like a far more formidable and realistic force than the Conservatives and Brexit parties are as things stand this evening. And we'll see what happens at 10 p.m. Tonight with the vote.
And you heard John Henley express skepticism as to whether or not a snap general election would clear the air. Do you agree?
A general election this autumn would almost certainly be a proxy for a second referendum. If the Labour Party could be pushed to come out as an explicitly Remain party, I think it could clear the air. It's not entirely clear if they would, but if they did, they'd be very welcome in a Remain alliance. Otherwise, the absolutely key thing is to prevent Johnson and Cummings winning a majority and pushing through and inflicting a very, very harmful Brexit, which will be no good for British jobs or for the youth in this country.
James Clarke, let me just ask you, if there was this turn of events that made it where Boris Johnson was disavowed by Parliament, overrun by both houses, including the Lords, and that we'd need a caretaker prime minister in the UK, would you go along with Jeremy Corbyn as the man to take the UK to new elections?
It's a matter of sequencing. First we have to take no deal off the table. Second, we have to ensure that a general election is not called on the terms that Johnson and Cummings are after. If we manage that, I believe a vote of no confidence and a government of national unity would be a desirable outcome. Personally, I could cope with that, with Corbyn as leader, as long as it was temporary and it was for a very specific goal of extending or revoking Article 50 altogether with a view to another referendum.
James Clarke, Boris Johnson, is he just simply realizing that, well, the stars have realigned politically? The two traditional parties can't go on the way they have been in the UK, much as we've seen the support erode for the two biggest traditional center-left and center-right parties in Germany. And here in France, those parties get, in fact, obliterated by the centrist formation of Emmanuel Macron. Well, trying to take the lead before that happens and saying, yeah, let's just change the Conservative Party.
I think you make a good point. What's clear from the recent weeks, months and years of UK politics is that the old parties are not fit for purpose. They brought us to crisis. That's why we started Renew, because it's obvious the system is not working and we need complete renewal and reform. Now, Whether the first step to that of the Conservatives is becoming blue kip, veering wildly to the right and appealing only to the most hysterical wing of their parliamentary party and their voters, I don't know. If it is, I don't think it's a good idea. Is there a space for new parties like the Renew Party to come in and reform the system? Absolutely. I don't want Brexit to hurt the UK. I'd like it to be halted, stopped, or arrested in some other sense. But it's obvious that there's a space for something new.
Or James Clarke, at this point in time, are you privy to any cross-party talks, cross-party strategy, or is it to each his own?
Yeah, I mean, when we're on the doors, when we're fighting by-elections, what we're finding out is that people understand that we can't have an eternity of red versus blue. We can't vote red to keep the blues out and blues to keep the reds out forever. And the idea that the solutions to the problems that have been caused by these parties lie within the ranks of Labour and Conservative is becoming less and less credible. On the topic of cooperation of parties, you may have been aware that in Boris Johnson's own seat in Uxbridge and Ruislip, we have the beginnings of a Remain alliance there. Renew will be standing with the Liberal Democrat candidate. This happened in Brecon and Radnorshire, where other smaller parties, such as the Renew Party, stepped down. This is happening everywhere. The seeds of renewal and reform are there. We just hope that the UK is not in too much of a damaged state by the time the rest of the Remain parties get our acts together and do our best to oppose what's looking like, potentially a very damaging government under Boris Johnson.